And watching us. I've got two young, beautiful women this evening, but one is not in the market. I don't know about the other one, but I just want them to introduce themselves and tell you what they do, and then we'll take it from there. So, who wants to go first?
Shall I go first?
Please do. The one that's not in the market is going first, yes.
So my name's Natisha. Should I talk a bit about my
Yeah,
background?
so you tell us what you do, yeah.
So I work for a surveying firm. So we predominantly work on residential properties across London and surrounding areas. So I'm specifically surveyor support, so we do a lot of desktop research for home surveys and valuations from non-court compliant and court compliant reports.
Okay, so my beautiful young other lady, go ahead.
My name's Shamara, the bigger sister to Natisha. I now study psychosocial studies and psychodynamic counselling. I major in the fields of mental health, special needs, and yeah.
So what were you doing previously?
Oh, I used to do law. I was in the law field, so yeah.
Oh,
legal
okay.
and, yeah.
So how long were you there for?
Oh, most of my life, that was my passion from the age of 6.
Oh, okay.
It's only in 2017, 18.
So have you been in the courts or anything?
Oh yeah, I used to work in Inner London Crown Court.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
quite young,
that means you
actually.
might have known my cousin, Michaela.
Who knows? Was she in the London Crown Court?
Yes,
Depends on what
Michaela,
years though.
yeah.
Depends on
Michaela,
what
she died 2022.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Okay, so today the topic that we're going to talk about is whether it's right for parents to either interfere in their children's career or just support. So I'm going to, because you guys have more of an insight, because as parents we think we know it all. So I want you to just take it from there. So because I know you changed. So was it because your parents supported you, or is it because you wanted to do law?
So I always had a passion for law. I know I look young. I am a mother of 3, 36
Wow!
years old. Yeah.
I thought you
So-
were 22.
Oh no. So
Yes,
I can
yes,
talk
yes.
from both from both perspectives. Growing up, my mum and dad were quite supportive of whatever I wanted to do, but I loved law. That was just my passion. So, but I was also very creative. So I danced, I performed internationally, lots of big in front of the royal family, lots of stuff. I had
What
to
did
make
you
a
perform
choice.
in?
Everything.
When you say
Literally.
everything,
Like the Queen Jubilee, we
Wow.
performed at Emancipation Day in front of Nelson Mandela before he passed away.
Wow.
It was on Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, all of those, yeah. The Empires, the Barbican, all of that. I was very
Wow.
much into that side of stuff, but I was also very academic. So I hit
Okay.
a stage where I had to decide, and I was allowed to make the decision whether I wanted to go down the academic route or the performing arts route. I decided to go down the academic route just because I knew things can change for women.
precisely
Your physical body, and I didn't want to
Exactly.
be reliant on
stigmatized, and then
and then I can't do what I want to do. So, but I knew my brain and my qualifications. Once I had the paperwork, no one couldn't take that away from me.
which is true.
So that was my passion, and just stuck to that. Got all my A stars, done some GCSEs early and stuff. Went on to do 4 A levels. I stuck it out, done my work experience at Crown Court. They then offered me a job the summer after, and I was like, oh,
Wow.
seriously? So I was making,
How old were you then?
16.
Whoa,
Yeah,
16.
Making £12.50 an hour.
Wow.
So it was very insightful, and I knew that's what I wanted to do, working with the judges, everything. I loved it. But then I was also smart enough, when they offered me a full-time job, I said, no, I need to go and finish my studies. Because I don't want to be one of those people where it's just the experience and I don't have the qualifications
Wanna
behind me.
balance,
And then it's a deselection process. I don't want to be deselected when the time
Precisely.
comes. So I went into the studies, wanted to finish that, go to uni, etc. Fell pregnant with my first
Okay.
child. Just as I was going to go Coventry to do law and criminology. I believe, this is why I say I can talk on both sides, God has his own plans.
Yes.
But that happening and me becoming a mother at such a crucial stage, straight away I knew I wasn't the priority no more.
That's it.
Do you know what I
That's
mean?
it. You're responsible for.
Straight away I knew that
life.
my ambitions and that they kind
going
of
to be
take
on the back burner.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I kind of learned that early.
Yeah.
Then obviously like my son now, 16.
16.
Yeah, 16-year-old.
Right.
He's
Sorry.
he's gone through the motions, do you know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
gone through the motions. He's had to grow up. he's made different choices. He's very different, very eccentric, deep thinker, loves religion, politics. He loves all the deep topics.
Yeah.
Very.
He teaches me things all the time.
Yeah, he's a researcher. He's very deep, and I had to allow him to be like that. Do you know what I mean? I had to see, oh, you're not like that. You don't want to be outside on the street. You don't want to run around with friends. You want to sit there and research, and do you know what I mean? And I thought, and I was quite a sociable person growing up, so that wasn't how I was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was a bookworm. I used to sit there and Harry Potter books, and do you know what I mean? He wasn't necessarily like that. I had to learn, you know what, I don't want to force myself. I played instruments and all that. My son had no interest in instruments, but he loved dancing.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, that's a part of me.
So you had the creative part, but in a different direction.
Yeah, and even the academic side was a whole different forte to what I liked. Politics, my head hurts. Do you know what I mean? But he can go very deep for hours. So even then I had to learn, you know what, you can't. Straight away I just knew I didn't like when I saw parents forcing
their
kids
in, onto them. Do you know what I mean? Like, my son, we're different people. You're allowed to be yourself, and I loved that, seeing the differences. Same with my daughter.
Celebrating differences.
Got a 13-year-old daughter. She's very different. They all raised the same in the same household.
Yeah.
They're their own person, own personality, own interests, and I allow them to be. I think that's what makes it special. Imagine if everyone in the world was exactly the same.
Okay, I'm just trying to ask, what cream do you use? Sorry. Sanitation. So I come to you. So from your end, what made you go into surveying?
Well, that's what's actually interesting. There was some similarities with what you were saying of the balance between not wanting your career to be reliant on your physical body or talent. So I actually first was really excited about sports. So I started off with football, which wasn't seen as
football,
it started, but stereotypically wasn't you'd expect a young girl to be interested in. And
how
then
old were you at that time?
Probably started from the age of 7 or 8, I'd say. And I was very proud to be defender. I'd play against boys as well. And like stereotypically the boys would be like, oh, she's a girl, I don't need to try as hard. And then they'll be surprised when they can't get past me, and I'm like, and then that like kind of transitioned into, I played basketball because I was tall. So I was like, oh, you're tall and you're really good, you know how to dribble a ball, like just the basics. And then athletics was really what I really fell in love with. And I'd always have those conversations of, oh, you should take it professionally. And I was like, I love it, but I don't want it to be my entire career. I didn't like the concept of one injury and you're done.
Yes.
And once, similar to what you're saying, I wanted my academic to really be the thing of what I really pushed myself for, and I wanted to be different. I kind of hated the stereotype of a successful black person is only successful through sports or music.
Yes, that was me as well.
If you're not singing, if you're not acting,
not performing or
that's
something.
the thing.
There's so much more to us, and not taken away from people who are amazing at that, but we don't have to be just put in those categories there. So I always knew I was obsessed with buildings. It sounds ridiculous, but from when I was a toddler, I loved Bob the Builder. And anything, making anything. And buildings was kind of like the foundation and the main point of it. So it started on an interest of architecture. Then it actually ended up accidental. I graduated in lockdown. So it was more so just exploring of what jobs were available at the time. Fell into student accommodation, and I was like, wait, I actually quite like this. And then that transitioned into commercial real estate and an estate agency.
Still in the building.
And then, and then now surveying. And I was like, one thing I say, like, once again, similar to what you're saying, it's all in God's plan. And I think the greatest blessing is that I was able to be flexible rather than be stuck and be like, I must do this or I must stay stuck to this. And throughout the whole process, I've always had a very supportive family. My mum's never,
for the right reasons,
my mum never once
else.
told me, oh, I have to stick to sports or I have to do property. It was always my choice, and I think that's
they
what
gave you that
allowed
flexibility. And I think that is good. And the reason why I say that is, you know, when you're growing up, you're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to figure out how life is. So when sometimes certain parents put your kids in that box, I think that is a necessary pressure. And because you guys are younger, you guys you are able to understand, because you have to live that life that we're telling you to go into.
And then for me, I've got my son living it right now. He's actually at that age where you're trying to find yourself. And they're growing up in a whole different times to us.
Yeah.
Everything's very much more at your
Technology
fingertips.
driven.
Yeah. Things are more acceptable now. It's a whole different society. So for them to find themselves, I think it's a lot harder. And there's lots more different categories and groups you can fit into or not a part of. So I think it can also make them feel a lot more lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think maybe parents should now more focus on the supporting
Yes.
Yeah.
and, you know, the guidance, but not necessarily directing them where to go, because it's already hard for them to even understand who they are as people.
Even
Much
us
as
growing
yeah.
ups, it's even hard for us to even. It's kind of like you go through the paces.
Yeah.
You go through life, and then you realize that the challenges, nothing is changing. You understand? Nothing is changing, and then you find out that your parent doesn't even know it all, and they're pressuring you.
Yeah.
And then it makes us sound like we're hypocrites, which we are. But at the end of also.
Like, they're still trying to find their feet, and they're telling you to
Yeah.
have yours firm. It's like, how can I?
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of, with my generation, like I said, I'm 36, we've...
No, in all fairness, you don't look 36.
She doesn't.
Like, you
She
don't.
doesn't.
No, you really don't.
I'm 40 soon.
Sometimes they ask
like
her
that.
kids her siblings. They're like, that's not your children.
Yeah, no, mother 3. Got 16, 13, 9.
Right.
Yeah. So
Look,
I've, like I said, I've been able to look at it from both sides of the fence. And to be honest, everyone tells me, they're like, but your kids are so they're so balanced. You like have such a... But I think it's because I've allowed them to be their self.
Yeah, there's no pressure. There's no,
and
you must do this.
do you know what I mean? And I think it's also the balance as well. There's one thing about pushing your kids to be successful, but we don't realise the pushing, but there's no balance of love or support.
Yeah.
That affects their mental health in a whole different way. A lot of parents don't realise sometimes you're causing your children to feel depressed. You're causing your children to feel anxious.
Yeah.
Because imagine every day being told, you need to go do this, be successful. This is not what you want to do. But you want to be good at it just
So
to
you're
make
trying
your
to
parent proud.
please your parent.
That's gonna put that's like a weight on your shoulders. Do you know what I mean? I realised I've seen that a lot with our generation, the generation below. Cycles are being broken, obviously, because people are more aware and having discussions like this. So it's making people more aware. But I'm like, we're not realising how not finding the right balance is even affecting our kids in a very negative way, mentally and emotionally. So
Yeah, and I think letting them know as well that a lot of things are trial and error. It's okay to try something and it doesn't quite work out, or maybe you're not as into it as you thought. You can always explore and try something else. Or sometimes, like they say, you pick yourself up and
yeah, dust yourself off and try again.
Sometimes
Yeah.
things aren't going to work out immediately, and it's just you
Or
need that
even the
flexibility.
first time round. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you might need to fail.
Yeah.
Come back a bit better, see where you went wrong. So you try
Sometimes,
harder in
yeah.
those areas, or you know what I mean? I just feel like there's other ways to help people to
Yeah.
get to certain levels. Also, there's not one direct route. Our life has shown us that.
Exactly.
You
Just
can have a plan.
Yes.
but it's God's plan at the end of
But
the
it's
day.
no man's land, God laughs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you might get about 50 different diversions, and it might bring you back to where you was initially trying to go, but you didn't know you'd have to go this place, that one before you get to that final destination. I think it's okay to tell your kids there's different ways, especially now in this creative
The world's
world and
constantly
technology
changing and
driven
moving.
world. Yeah,
Yeah.
things can be done differently. I also feel if you'd asked me this 20 years ago, I wouldn't feel that. I used to think that and coming from me, everyone knows I'm an educational advocate, etc. I wouldn't. If you'd asked me then, I wouldn't say, "Oh, you can make it without having certain qualifications." We're in a different time.
Yeah.
Creative arts, people are becoming very successful of creative arts. There's lots of people saying, "No, I didn't even finish school," and they're becoming successful, and it's something that they're passionate about, and that's something that I feel that as parents and our generation have to learn to
Embrace.
yes.
But don't you think that with creative art, you know, you said something from the beginning that sometimes the way you look, you looked at, you didn't want to be stigmatized or being seen as, oh, now let's say I put on a bit of weight, so then I'm going to not be, you understand? And then you look at it from another point whereby when you say education, it's not the end and all. You said you ended up studying law, but you knew nobody could take that away from you.
Yeah.
So it's like that. I feel that you have to have both.
The balance.
Yeah.
I always
the
say that
balance.
the balance is what's fair, but
Yeah.
what we noticed in a lot of families is just one way or the other.
Yeah.
There's no balance. Like I said with my kids, do what you're happy with doing, but I'm always going to tell you the truth about, oh, this may not work out this way and this can happen this way. You may have to take this route to get to here. Do you know what I mean? It is the balance. And also knowing that when they say they don't succeed in the way they want to or don't get to this, it's not about you done wrong. That is the approach that I think is,
you got to let them know it's okay that it didn't work out exactly the way you wanted. What are we going to do moving forward?
I feel like it's the reaction.
It's more communication.
Yes, communication.
Creating a safe environment for a child to explore.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
And letting them know, look, you can do this and it's okay. I'll be happy as long as you're happy. That's one thing my son says. He's like, Mum, I want to make money. He wants to be in a good job, but he wants to be in a job that
you're passionate
he's
about.
passionate
You want
about,
to be excited to wake up to every morning.
Yeah.
Because when it does get hard, not every day at work is going to be perfect. It's the
Exactly.
passion that's really going to keep
He
you
used to be,
going.
remember he used to say, he's like, but everyone's a footballer, everyone wants to be. I said, yeah, everyone wants to be. And I'm telling you now, out of your friends,
Not all of them.
not
will
a
be
very
Even
That's
2%. Because
That's
when
the
you look
truth.
at but when you look at football is one of those. I feel that when somebody said they sold us a dream, that you see when you're at such football has got an age cap. Football has got this glamour that one of the things that I realized was the younger kids that, let's say, Tottenham took, Arsenal took, by the time the kids were 18 and they dropped them, it affected these kids emotionally
And mentally.
Yeah.
and mentally.
Yeah, of course.
Because
That was their only goal.
Yeah.
That was their only aim
Because
in
they
life,
made
to be a
them
professional
taste-
footballer.
they made them taste that, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're 18 and
You saw you're not good enough.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of other routes out there that are similar. So they kind of like got a harsh reality check of, oh my gosh, work a 9 to 5.
And they may
What
not
do you mean?
focus on the studying
Yeah.
side of it at all, so they may not even have any GCSEs either, because like, no, football, I'm going to make
Yeah.
it. So it kind of, that side of it I do think is quite sad and
detrimental.
unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very detrimental.
A lot to our community, because you hear most young boys, what do you mean, you're a footballer?
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like that's where parents come in as well, with that, especially with that specific
they need
sport, to be a
guidance.
bit realistic as well.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Like, you can say, you can do it as a hobby, you know? Do you know what's
or be a footballer but still steady.
Yes.
And if it doesn't happen, you've got something to fall back on.
But remember, a
Yeah.
lot of parents is like, they want their child to make it as a football, because like, oh, you're going to be rich, so they'll put
To
their
produce
everything
that
into
lifestyle that they always wanted.
Yes.
And they're forcing their child to live their dreams for
Yeah.
them. And it's like,
So when you're talking about this balance, how do you envision that parents should guide their children when it comes to the career? Because now we've got more job opportunities or career opportunities than previously. Because first you have to be a lawyer, you have to be this, you have to be an architect, you have to like it that way. Where it's kind of like you had a category, and if you didn't fit into it. So how do you feel? Because you guys, you're growing up in that genre. How do you feel parents can guide their children?
for that balance, I'd say definitely starting with listening to the child. Because it depends on what they're interested in. If, say, my daughter's decided she wants to be a hairstylist, that's fantastic. Let's find classes and clubs that will educate you in that, but you still got to at least make sure that you're getting your core subjects done and still explore other subjects, because who knows, you might like doing hairstyling and something else. Like children, I think the best part of growing up is exploring. There's so much things. You can have one idea, oh, I want to, I don't know, be a rapper. Okay, that's lovely. The next day you might want to be an engineer. The next day you might want to be a superhero, depending on what age the child is.
True.
They're just constantly exploring. So I think listening to the child first and then creating a good balance. So if their main drive is something creative, then you know, okay, we're gonna dedicate maybe every Saturday you go to that club that's relating to that, and then on Sunday we're gonna do your homework for your core subjects, and making sure just both are getting that attention.
That's what I would have said. Listening, I think that's the main thing. A lot of parents aren't listening to their kids and listening to actually understand. Listening to, don't just hear it and it goes through one ear. Actually listen and take in what they're saying, because I notice with a lot of kids, they're saying a lot. Do you know what I mean? It's just whether the parent is even that mentality where I'm older than you, I know what I'm saying, I've lived longer than you. We don't. Yes, and that's what it is. It's very hard for parents to accept that. We can still learn.
Also,
and that we can even learn from our kids. That whole stigma where you can't learn from people younger than you. You can. Do you know why they're having a whole different experience to you?
Because I know a lot of stupid grown-ups. I ain't even.
And that's the truth.
Yeah,
it's the truth. I say it all the time. She's 10 years younger than me. Yeah, 10-year age gap, and I say it all the time that my sister's got more sense than a lot of my friends. I say it to my friends. I say, no, she's 10 years younger than me. You know she got more sense than you lot. And it's
if my kids have got more sense than their dad, but he's a grown up. I like that. No, serious. I don't like. But the funny thing is, I'm not insulting. That's the fact.
It's There's maturity that you will see in certain younger energies than the older ones, and I'm like, people just see. That's why it's fine to understand that there can be that balance. Where there's that still rigidness or that resistance against taking in something from a younger audience or from a younger person, that doesn't help either side, the younger or the older people.
No.
I think trying to understand each other is a very big step, and actually listening to understand.
Because there's knowledge to share on both ends. It doesn't just go one way. And the whole point is that we hope the next generation does better than the previous one. How can we expect them to do better if we're just boxing them in from our previous knowledge?
Yeah, and
it doesn't make sense. In a world that we're not growing up in the technology era, I can only imagine how crazy technology is going to be in the next 10 years from now.
Exactly,
There's going to be new careers that have been created.
Precisely.
And they're exposed to a lot more things that they have to navigate and understand. And so I'm like, imagine with your young mind having to navigate and process so much new information that can be quite controversial. There's a lot of controversial stuff out there. When I think about when I was growing up, I didn't have to discuss certain things at all. When I think about
we're not allowed to, because it's like, and the reason why I started this show was I said parents talk at us, they don't talk to us. So I started this show so that at least the information that you're giving out, parents now sit back and say, okay, what they're saying, now I understand what you're saying. Because if the kid is saying it to them, they're thinking, oh, what do you know?
Yeah.
You know.
Sometimes you have to hear it from someone else.
Yeah, from a different
That's why I'm
perspective.
in the field with the counselling and stuff. You get to, because you have to listen. And it's not, a lot of people have a misconstrued idea of what psychotherapy and counselling is. They think the person has to give you advice. They tell you what to do. No. You couldn't be more further from the truth. We don't give advice. We do not tell you what to do. We listen to you. And we'll guide. We listen. And we allow you to listen to yourself. The questions we'll ask someone, it allows them to reevaluate. Reflect themselves.
Yeah.
You know, when you use those skills as a parent with your children, it creates a whole different bond, understanding.
Trust as
like
well.
People say it in my house, she can tell you she's an auntie, second mum as well. It's because I allow that. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I'll sit there and listen, and then, what do you mean by that? And then, why does that make you feel like that? And then, how did that experience actually allow you to think and feel after? And how would you want to deal with that? Yes.
How do you change the narrative? You know,
it's a lot of questions to about them, and then listening. Like, active listening is a skill that obviously a lot of people don't have, especially in our community.
So people just listen to respond rather than take on board what the other side
When you
is
say
saying.
people listen to response, what does that mean?
So they just want to have a comeback.
A reply, that's all it is.
And it's like, have you really taken on board what that person said to you and actually tried to see things from someone else's perspective?
And perspective, It's a very argumentative energy, I'd say, as a lot of people have, whereas to have a rebuttal, that's it.
They want to be right.
Yes, and sometimes like, no, it's not an argument. It's not a debate. Do you know what I mean?
I'm just telling you, marriages whereby this person wants to be right, even sometimes you know you're wrong.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, why should I let you win?
Yeah, they want to be wrong till they're strong.
Yeah. That's another thing. Like, see, that one's in our community as well, the wrong and strong thing. And I realised it silenced a lot of the generations and children that came after because of parents being, look, what I've said, that goes, that's it. Yeah. Even if you knew they was wrong, you just learned to.
Oh, I got a lot of licking on that.
Yeah, you just learned to.
I couldn't help myself. I ain't even gonna lie. Because
our mum was the same. She was very asshole.
I know. It's like you go and then my dad says, "Well, do as I say." It's kind of like do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing. And
yeah.
And then your parent is going, oh yeah, I know better than you, and I go, no, you don't. And then it's like a grown up doesn't like. I go, no, you don't, Daddy. You're lying, and then I can feel the slap.
They see it as defiance, innit? But you're like, no, I just have to. It's the injustice for us. I need to speak on the injustice. Yeah, I thought that.
It took me a while to learn it because my mum let us know that she couldn't stand injustice either. She always felt like she had to speak up for people.
Yeah.
And that trait kind of passed on to us.
She'd
always tell me, don't allow people to use you as their voice. If they have an issue with something,
let them.
You don't need to fight everyone's battles for them. And
at work, that is so. Now I've learned. Yeah. So that's why. Remember today I said something to you that I went to a meeting and I said I'm speaking for me because I realized that every time I spoke, it felt like I'm speaking for everybody else and everybody's at the back. Yeah. So now, if you don't fight for yourself, I ain't doing it.
Because literally, like, you are carrying everyone in your back, and that's another thing you notice in our society. People look for who's the weight bearer, and then they'll jump on once everything works out. Oh yeah, credit. They don't want to do the hard work. Really, they don't want to do.
It's not that they don't want to be confrontation. They want to seem. They want to be seen as the nice person, and you're the one that is the aggressor. So like sometimes like something happens because I remember there was one time I was going to Ghana at the airport and then there was this Indian guy. He kind of jumped the queue. So as the guy was going, I goes, where do you think you're going? And then the guy goes, oh yeah, yes. And I said, no, he's not going in front of me. And then I realized that as he was going, he goes, oh, I'm letting you go. I said, no, you're not letting me go. So somebody behind me was going, oh yeah. I said, please don't jump on my bandwagon because you saw him pass.
Yeah, you didn't say nothing.
Anything until
so please let me do me.
Yes.
You see, and now it's like when I go to meetings and I'm quiet, the managers will phone around and say, "Is B all right?" It's not. I'm not. Oh,
they was used to you being Africa. Yeah. I've had to learn that. Learning.
You and me, I'm in some.
Yeah. I'm learning.
I'm seriously learning that because I realize that sometimes people say, "Oh yeah, we know that this person is that way," but oh yeah, what you said after the meet, they don't even say anything in the meeting, you know. Yeah. Afterwards, then the phone.
They got the most to say to you. Oh yes, you know what? This and that. Like, you start learning more about people and how. You see when you sit, and I noticed that as well. Being observant.
I've started doing that.
That's what I think. I'm like being observant, just sitting back and.
Yeah, you just kind of learn so much.
You learn so much.
And I've told people that if you don't want to say anything, please don't call me afterwards.
Yeah, that's it. I've learned that. I said since I've had to.
I said if you're not able to say it in that space. Please.
Yeah.
Don't phone me like this.
Yeah.
Because first, so every time, the funny thing, they always used to say, oh yeah. It's like when they go to the meeting, they're waiting for me to say it. And as stupid as I am, I'll just be running my mouth. And then, certain things happened. And then I just sat back and I goes, hey, foolish me. Okay. So now, when I go and I'm saying something, I said, oh, I'm saying it for me. I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm doing me. And then you see that you get one or two people coming up. But now, I'm doing what you rightly said.
Yeah.
And these are some of the stuff that I think, these are some of the tools I think parents need.
That ties into exactly with, so for example, when you're dealing with kids in school, obviously you have the interactions with teachers and where things may not be done in the right manner or whatever. That's another thing I'm starting to see with the older generations, our generations, whether you advocate for your kids when it comes to their battle with a teacher or within the school system. Some parents will talk up. I am one of them. Do you know what I mean? Because you should.
You fight for your kids.
You have to. I say to people, do you know the school system and the education system is not easy? Primary school is one thing. You got one main teacher. That's alright. Secondary school, you've got a teacher for every subject. You're now dealing with 10 to 15 different adult personalities with their own angst, their own life experiences, their own whatever emotions, and your child is still a child dealing with adults. So I said, so you see, there's a lot of parents that kind of throw their kids in the deep end when it comes to the education system. Just from you get through school every day, fine. And if you hear your child's getting detention or penalisation straight away, you think your child's the bad. No, sometimes speak to them, find out, because you don't know what angst that teacher might have. You don't know whether that teacher even likes kids. Some people that was their last resort to be a teacher. It wasn't what they wanted to do, so they don't even want the job. Do you know what I mean? That's the truth. So sometimes they kind of take that frustration out on your child. I say to people, be when it comes to the education system, talk to your child. Ask about their day. Ask about their interactions
Every day is
with the
different.
teachers, with the peers outside of school. You don't know what event or scenario or situation took place that can affect your child for the rest of that week, the rest of that month, for the rest of that year.
You never know
I
what
mean?
happened to them on their way home from school. You don't know.
And so much people say, do you actually, the first thing I ask, like, how was your day? First thing, what did you do today?
What
That's the
subjects
first
did you
thing. As
study?
soon as
What
they
did
get
you
in the car.
like? What did you not like? What
Yeah.
did you have for lunch?
They know now, I don't even have to ask. As soon as they get in the car, mum, you know, is very there to tell me about your day. And I say to a lot of people, I don't even know my child. I'm like, why is that? Do you know what I mean? It's because you're not asking certain questions.
Yeah.
You're not even trying to find out. And when they are coming to you, remember, we're their protectors regardless of how old they get. So when they're coming to you and they say, look, I've had this sort of day at school, you know, the teacher was they made me feel a bit intimidated, or I got shouted at. I think our old go-to, especially in our society, was, well, you must have done something wrong and the
Yeah.
child's wrong straight away. And it's like, oh God, they're getting it at school.
And
at
you
home.
knew which parents were like that because the teacher will threaten to call their parent because they knew the parent wouldn't listen to the child.
Yes.
You
And I
always
said,
knew.
you didn't realise at that time, yeah, imagine for that child how it feels. Teachers, parent. You don't want to go to school or home. So then that affects the mental health as well. So I said to people, just kind of be a bit more aware
Yes.
of understand they are kids trying to find themselves. We all know what it's like. Being kids trying to find ourselves. And I always say to people, try and be the parent that, well, my mum was a good role model. So I don't say parent I wish I had, because she was a great mother. So a lot of people, they said their mum wasn't there for them, didn't listen to them,
Yeah.
didn't support. I said, so try and be the mother
Yeah,
you
don't
she
make
had.
it an excuse of, oh, because you had a bad parent, then
Yeah.
you don't know how to be a good parent.
Try and emulate the things that
Yeah.
you wished you had. Do you know what I mean? I'm saying, because I say it will make your child's life so much, and yours. And yours. It's
You
the
know when you
balance.
said that, my kids didn't want me to go to their school because
Yeah, trust me.
I was one of those. I remember Andre, when Andre was in year 6. I was in year 5. You know, like you use a pencil for a long period of time and then they give you a pen.
Yeah.
And this teacher was a South African teacher. And I remembered, Andre had brilliant handwriting, yeah? So Andre now will come and then Andre will be like, Mom, everybody's got a pen, I haven't.
Oh,
yeah?
yes, they do that still. The
And
handwriting thing.
then-
Yeah.
One morning I just went to the
Because it
school and the dad
upsets
was
them
there.
so much.
So I went to the school and the teacher was there and I goes, hello. And I goes, why is it my son hasn't he got a pen? And then she goes, oh, his handwriting. And I goes, I had this book. I goes, this is his handwriting.
Yeah.
The next thing, the woman started bawling and the woman, you know,
gosh.
acting like God. The dad was there like, oh, threatening you. I goes, babes, I can
my.
give you a tissue, yeah? But I've not said anything to you. I'm just asking you why. Everybody's got a pen. So the teachers knew me because one thing I used to do was every term I would give the teachers every year they went, I'll give them presents. Yeah. So but with her I never gave it to her because I found it a little bit funny.
Yeah.
So now so I remember when she started bawling and then I'm intimidating her and then you know the teachers, you know the white teachers, they knew me. They goes, no, not Andres.
yeah.
Not Andres, mom. You know, that same day she gave my son a pen. And I remember
And that's
the
why sometimes
same
you have to.
I remember
yeah.
in secondary school, same way. Andre said he wanted to do sports, and then I told him that he can do sports, but he had to do another like psychology or something with it. It's not just doing sports.
Yeah, the balance, yeah.
The balance.
Of course,
So
yeah.
now this is the teacher now. Oh, normally that course is kids that they get A stars and stuff. I goes, please can you type in his name in a computer? I said, my son, the lowest grade he's got is a B. So I don't know what kid
is
you're
it?
talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
And Donnell is really good at maths. Same way. We went to PTA and the teacher, no, I was driving. Not that I'm driving. Donnell goes, oh, they say the higher level of maths, there's full up, so I'm going to the lower one. You know the way I swung, I forgot I was
no,
driving.
that's
Yeah, you said
ridiculous.
no.
So I went to the PTA and the teacher was going on, oh, I realized that your child, you know, he's not really good in maths and all those stuff. And I said, I know something. Andre is good in English, you know, all those stuff. And Donna is good in maths.
Maths, yes.
So if there's a problem, then you are the problem.
Yes.
So if I have to come back again.
Yes.
So I remember he ended up going to another Nigerian teacher's class. And I remember the teacher kept saying to me, that Donna was so good. He used to teach other kids
Exactly,
in the
yeah.
class. Following PTA, that went, oh, Donna is fantastic.
Yes.
And that was why when you started
Yes.
talking about advocating for
Yes.
child.
I've had
Because if you
very,
don't show up for
So
them,
sometimes when something happens
it's a
in
good
school,
thing. You need to.
something happens in school and I said I'm going to, I said, oh no, mom, I form teacher deal with it, because he knows
But
when I get
yeah,
to that
because you know it is
school.
when we people don't realize that's how sometimes, like you said, it works in the child's favor. Sometimes, like I said, a lot of these teachers, if they think the child doesn't have no support or put in their kids, they actually end up.
They play
And
on
I don't know
that.
if I don't know if it's on purpose or not.
I think
but
it
it's like
is.
they start kind of bullying that child
Yeah.
a bit, or aiming things towards that child. Like, your mum ain't coming down here. Your mum's not gonna contact us. Your mum's not gonna email us. You see, if they know that you're that
They
parent,
take liberty.
They never used to play around with mummy.
oh no, they know. My mum didn't mind to write a letter,
Yeah.
come down there. They knew, and I
She's
feel
even
like
governor at our primary
that's
school.
happened with me. So yeah. Remember they offered me the chair of governors. So I feel like it helps in that regard, because even like, for example, as I said with my son and my daughter, because they're both in secondary school, they're older to me. If they tell me certain things, I'm able to look at it from their perspective and then even see, ooh, is that teacher moving correct or
Yeah.
not? And then sometimes when I do speak to teachers, I've had several of them end up talking about their personal life, like they're actually dealing with some hard stuff
Yeah.
at home.
But they're projecting
And
on
they're
their students. Yeah.
They had a bad week or month and they're actually very upset. I said, oh, so you was taking out my child bed.
Yeah.
I've had a good few of them actually admit it. So it is about, like I said, parents, just speak to your kids and advocate for them in the right scenarios. You know what I mean? The same way you might fight for them to be successful, fight for them to feel safe as well and to feel
Yeah.
heard, you know what I mean? And to know that you're fighting for
Yeah.
them to get,
I feel like they
you
can
said,
be
you help your
honest as
children
well.
get what they're meant to get. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the level of what they're supposed to be, and otherwise we allow our kids to fall short or fall behind as well. Do you know what I mean? So no, I think yes, the balance of it all.
But I think you young people are doing more stuff than us, the parents, because I know recently, was it last year, I went to Ghana with my niece, and there was a problem that happened. So I remember somebody did something to her, and I think when she left, I dealt with it. So when she came, she's telling me, Rachel, she's telling me, Auntie, my mom's never done that, and you know, those stuff. And I said, with me, I advocate for my kids wherever,
Yeah.
Whenever.
whenever.
That's how
So,
it was, yeah.
and the thing is, what you're saying actually cuts to the core of parenting, because you know, when they say parent, people, none of us have always been parents. We've always been children being parented.
And
by
there's
our-
no manual.
That's the
Yeah.
I say to
thing.
people, there's no
You're
manual of
trying
how
your
to
best,
do
yeah.
it. So like I say to people, when you see what works and what doesn't work, and that's another thing in our community. We see what works and what doesn't work, and you'll still have people who are still trying to do what doesn't work. And then
Yeah.
wondering why do you know what I mean? I said, no, we know that doesn't work. Did it work for you? Did it work for your parents? Do you know what I mean? So I always say advocate, because when we listen to mummy's stories and any of that generation, there was a whole different time.
Yeah.
The teacher was always correct. Do you know what I mean?
They were allowed to beat you.
Like
They
you
had a
was
different
always wrong as a
experience.
Like it
child.
was do as I say, not as I did.
Yeah.
And it's not that they didn't know what was correct. It was the fact that they only did what they were comfortable with.
Yeah.
So they're comfortable with me telling you what to do, comfortable with saying that I know better than you, and we're not challenging. And when I
Yeah.
say we, I'm not part of the we.
Yeah.
No, because with me,
Yeah.
I would go down swinging, and I
Yeah.
didn't care whether you're my parent. You understand? And if you know anything about Ashanti fathers, which is the Ashanti tribe, they're the most arrogant tribe. That the men, it's like, you know something, whatever they do, they're right, even when they're wrong.
Yeah.
And I remember sometimes, I think my dad had a lot of problem with me, because
Because
You
you're a
wasn't a
female,
sheep.
but you're outspoken.
Yeah, you weren't a sheep. You weren't just gonna follow and
and I always
Yeah.
keep saying, if I was one of the slaves, probably they would have killed me.
Oh my God, is that
I
what I said all the
could have
time?
not.
Yeah.
Because when
Yeah.
it comes to be one of those
Yeah.
ones that,
But it's needed more. Women speaking up.
yeah.
Like I said, times have changed a lot. This whole woman and male roles thing, it's not. Do you know what I mean? I feel like
okay, go into that. When you say woman, okay,
yeah, because I feel like women, we're doing a lot of the male roles anyway, and we're also probably more emotionally balanced.
But our mums did that, but they were quiet about it. You know,
Yes.
when you say that,
yes, that's exactly
our
the point I was
mothers,
gonna- yeah.
because if you check, it's not just our generation,
Of
it's just
course.
that we speak about it.
Of
Because if
course.
you check, I remember my mum would do things and then she would let my dad take the credit.
They was still more. That's literally
Yeah.
it. It's like they had it.
They didn't feel
But
like they had
stayed
a right
quiet.
to claim what they
to
were
cla-
doing.
We're
which is-
we're very different.
Yeah.
We're like, if I did it, I can get the accolades for this.
Yeah, you
What's
deserve
wrong
your
with
flowers,
taking
yeah.
the accolades? What's wrong with getting your flowers? Do you know what I mean? And it was like, I don't know if it was just an underlying, maybe it was in our DNA to just sit in the background. And obviously, yeah, if you look at our history, you know what I mean, we weren't really allowed to be in the limelight and the spotlight, so maybe it's deep rooted in our DNA, who knows. But I feel it's something, the generations with time, we're learning to be more outspoken.
Do you think that's the reason why you guys are not getting married? Or do you... No, I'm not saying you guys are not getting married.
This
but-
generation of women, yes.
Yeah. I think it's them actually realizing that they don't have to stay stuck or think their whole future relies
based
on
on being with a
or
man.
having a ring. It's about the quality of the relationship as well.
Okay, so now if you've got two parents at home and the man wants the child to go a certain direction in education and the mother wants to go a certain direction in education, how do you bridge that gap?
That's why I say,
Compromise,
with the, and what if it's the parents? That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't matter
Yeah,
what
it's
they
a bunch
want. They're
of
supposed to ask the child
Yeah.
what the child wants to do, and that's what I'm saying. In that arena, if it's two parents, I need him or her to do this, and I need.
Even religion, I see there's a lot of how do they word it now? Mixed religion households
yeah.
where the child will be taught the Christian values
And the
the
Muslim
Muslim
value,
values, and I think that's beautiful. It's not just one
And
way or
allowing
another, and
them
they
to
let the
choose
child
as well.
choose.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Because I feel
But that wasn't a thing before.
no,
I
it
doubt
wasn't.
it.
No, it wasn't. It's just whatever you was born into.
Yeah.
That's where it is. But that's what I'm saying, because people are now getting with
Yeah.
a partner that's from a different religion.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was such no stick with.
Yeah.
There is that where it's like, if you got a partner from different, you have to respect what they practice, what they love. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. It should be. That's what we need to do with our kids. Do you know what I mean? Respect what they love.
And give them the opportunity to try different things, and then they ultimately make that decision. Yeah.
Literally, with it, unless it's something that can harm them. As I say to people,
Yeah.
of course, there's
Things
exceptions
you
to the
wouldn't
rule.
want to.
Of course, yeah. If it's
No
gonna
one's
harm
going to
them, or they're
encourage
gonna
their child to sell their body, for example.
do you know what I mean? So obviously there's certain things like no,
Or taking
do not do
drugs.
that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Do you know? I get that. With those ones, yeah, of course, as a parent, you direct them
Yes.
directly away from certain fields. 100%.
So how do you monitor their friends? Because sometimes somebody will say, I want to go into it because my friend is doing it. And you realize that your kid is not doing it because they love it, but because another kid loves it.
I tell myself, I meet all your friends. I
what
communicate
I was
with them.
gonna say.
Even when my
Meeting
daughter's
their
on her
friends is
video
so
call with her
important.
friends, I'm like, hi,
Yeah.
you're right, it's mum. And she lets them know my mum walked in, whatever.
Yeah.
I've made myself known
You insert
You get a
yourself.
good judge of character
to your
as
friendship
well,
group
yeah.
so that I know what they're about. Do you know what I mean? Because of course you're not going to tell me everything.
Yeah.
Because with me, my kids, what I used to do was, I let their friends come to
Come
the
to my
house.
house. That's me.
You
Midterm,
get a good
That's me.
person,
Yeah, socialize here.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me hear.
Yeah.
What you like.
And you
How
can
like,
figure
yeah.
it out. My mum would be able to tell me that one's a bit fast and she loves man too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
She loves man too
Love
much.
man too
Yeah.
Yeah. Mum said when I was
Just
too
keep
forward.
it honest, and
Yeah.
I'd be young and be like oblivious to it, but it's like, oh, thank you, because that guidance once again,
Yeah.
rather than saying no, you cannot talk to her, I would advise that maybe
Yeah.
you don't spend too much time with that one because her priorities aren't straight.
That was
Yeah.
mummy done that with me. I used to think, so I had a curfew and it was hours before everyone else's. I used to think, what? I have to come in at 6 or 7 p.m. and everyone's out till 9, 10, and I never understood. And then when mine moved to 9 p.m, everyone could start till 11. I said, no, I didn't at the time.
It doesn't
You
make
thought you were
sense.
being punished.
I didn't understand. But you know what she said? So she used to say to me, no, their parents must not care about them. And I thought, what do you mean? I realised what she means. How come your parents weren't contacting you to see where you are?
They're not worried.
They don't care that you don't come home and it's dark.
Yeah.
You've not even received a message, nothing. Because me, I know how, as a parent now, I'd be, if they're even going 5 minutes on the road.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm going to be concerned, especially if it gets dark. Why are you not
Even
home?
me, I'd be like, I'm like the second mom.
Do you know what I mean? And thank God my children are homebodies, so we
Yeah.
don't have that worry. But I said, no, for real, I understand what she said. No, their
Yeah.
parents must not care. And she even used to say to me, you're going to see where half those females are 10, 15 years down the line. Because there's no
guidance, and
Yeah,
there's
and
no.
They just left to be
Yeah.
free. So
Yeah.
there is about finding the balance, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? She said, don't I give you a lot of free? And I thought, yeah, it's true. I get a lot of freedom and lots of other fortes.
Yeah.
Where she said, but I know when to restrict you.
With
It's
me,
to keep you safe.
and when you said, I remember my kids. I think they went to some party, and that day I think my uncle died, so we went to that. So the next thing I'm hearing, oh yeah, we're going to sleep over, and this party was in Essex. The funeral finished at 12.
You
I
drove
drove
out
to
there.
Excess,
Yeah.
picked them up. They were shot. I didn't really care. They were upset. I even lost. Even when they used to go to primary school and they said Pendarren, I wouldn't let them go to Pendarren to go and sleep over, because we had a debate
Yeah.
about, we're talking about PDD and all those stuff and R. Kelly and all those stuff that happened and all those Michael Jackson and then they were saying, though, they're blaming them fully. And I remember me and the boys got into a discussion that I blame the parents because
Yeah, because you just left your minor to be God
their
knows
own
where
devices.
with
You
a
didn't
random
check in,
stranger.
nothing. I'm with a hot no.
I said when they used to go football, I used to go with them, and then the room, we shared the room together. I don't want anybody sharing the kids.
I'm with
Even
you.
when they had friends over, I'll just go in and then open the door. Oh, you need some fresh air. So
No, dog.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. Open door policy
Yeah.
through the whole
Yes.
house. Yeah, literally. And I think it's to be honest, my children they've respected me.
You naturally want to do it as well.
Yeah, they've respected me for how
you guide them.
Yes, for how, because we can have the balance. Your friends can come around and you lot can play music. We can have pizza. We can. You understand?
Yeah.
I'm not going to restrict you lot. Do what you want. Because you're under this roof.
That's
I
it.
can see what's going on. When you're out there, I don't know what's going on. That's
it.
a whole different level.
So I never used to let them go in.
Yeah, there's no sleepovers. They only slept at our
Donald's
house.
birthday was the 15th
Yeah.
of February, yeah? And I remember there was Valentine. That time he was 17. He goes, oh, yeah. I said, no, we're going out. And he goes, nah, I'm going out. And I goes, no, you're not. You're 17. And then he was pissed. He goes, yeah, but I'm going to be. I said, no, you're going to be 18 the following day.
Yeah.
But today,
You're 17.
you're 17. He got, you know what, he got so upset.
I'm with you.
And
It helps.
And I remember sometimes if like games and stuff, I'll just take out the cables.
Yeah.
And I'll just go and put it away.
But you know what? It's probably why you've shaped the son that you have.
Yeah. Oh, you like him, don't you?
He's lovely. Great. I don't have to worry about it. Great. It's probably because of those. No, not probably. It is
Yeah.
because of those things. I
That
always say to people, you
upbringing,
don't realize how it's very important. A lot of people say how important our upbringing is, and they don't
Yeah.
realize that. Yeah, once that
Because
it's
I was
kind
one of
go
those
backwards.
kids, yeah, that I went around and I did everything. So the problem was
That's what
I
it is.
knew what was out there.
I think that's what it was with me. Yeah.
So I knew what was out there. So it's kind of like, it's very.
And it's the balance. It's
It
what it
is,
is because
it
of
is.
being exposed to things and knowing certain things. You now know what to look for, what you don't want your children exposed to. People say, I've always made sure that my parenting works around my job, my timing, my studies, everything.
No, 100%.
Because that's your
That's
full-time
yeah.
job.
Because even with the law firm, I had to make. I said, "Oh, with the law firm, I'm not gonna have no time." Even with I didn't. I said, I'm not gonna have any real time with my kids. They're gonna have a childminder most of the time. I'm not actually gonna know you lot. I said, I need a field that works around that.
Yeah.
So I was able to, even when I was studying, I made sure you lot stays done and I go in the evening. Do you know what I mean? Clients, training during the day while you're at school, whatever.
We
Because
had it part time to make sure
Yes,
they went out, and then the dad would either pick them up or I would
yes,
pick them up.
yeah, because
But they
your
went
safety
football. I was there.
Yes.
They started playing football at the age of 5.
Yeah,
I'm there.
I take them to.
Yeah.
Well, she knows I take them to and from school.
Yeah.
Because you can do
and
both.
From and I remember.
I said I don't want.
'Cause you can
my
be a
son
present
on the
parent
road.
and have
I
a
don't want to be
career.
in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Let me tell you a joke. When Andre was going to secondary school, and every time I keep taking him, and then I dropped on all of at school, and he got so used to it. That's when I was driving past my house here. I said, "Do you see anybody at the bus stop?" He goes, "No." He don't even look.
Yeah.
Because he was used to even secondary school. I used to take him till his friend Michael
Yeah.
started. That was in year 8 and year 9 that they started going. Because from primary, I would drop you, your dad would pick you up.
Yeah, I hear it. Because prevention is better than cure. I say this to a lot of people. You don't know what's out there around the corner.
I think people feel
it
what
will
is
happen
out
to
there.
their child. Everyone
That's
says
the
that it
thing.
won't be mine. I said, I don't want to take the risk.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I think every parent you see on the news,
Oh,
they
I didn't
didn't
know,
fit.
yes. No, but that's what I
didn't
mean.
think it'd be them.
I think, something.
Yeah.
I think so badly. I think my fear of what could happen was what made me so attached to my kids.
Me too. Oh God, that sounds like me. Yeah.
Because I feel that I have to do everything that, something that people
Keep
say
you
that,
safe.
no, not even that. I need to feel that I've done everything in my power, because they're saying things that probably it cannot be in your power. You understand?
Yeah, you can't control everything.
I always say that. Yeah.
But I need to be able to say,
You
that,
say,
I
in my
did.
pa- yes.
Yeah,
my part.
at least
Yes.
exactly.
I did
yeah.
that.
That's like with me taking my kids to and from school. I said, I don't want it to be that, oh, I was lazy, I didn't take him. And that's the day a group of boys approach my teenage son and it doesn't go the way it, do you know what I mean? And then I'm going to have that regret that all I have to do is take you around the corner. It's a 30-minute walk for you. It's a 5-minute drive for me. Do you know what I mean? It does not make sense me to just not do it. Because there's so much regrets you can end up living with. But like I said, I can see how that shaped your son. I see how it shaped my son the certain way. It clearly, it works. Do you
So
know
when
what I
you're
mean?
talking to parents, instead of having regrets, just put the work in.
Yeah.
I say this to everyone. I say, when your children are a certain age as well, it's not about them getting to like 18 and 21. You're like, oh, I could have. That's why I say, if you see when you're in the moment and there's certain ages, if you know you can do something
they're not
a
gonna be
bit
a child
different.
forever.
Because you got pregnant at a very young age.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Oh my
I know
God.
how it happened.
Okay, how happened is this. I was with my son's dad from I was 15 years
Okay.
old. It was a long relationship. He went to prison. He came out. I had already, like I said, I was very ambitious about my studies. So I already knew I was going to do law and criminology at Coventry University.
Coincidentally, I went to Coventry.
Yeah, she went
after.
after. And I'd put my deposit down. I had my accommodation, everything. I was 19. I'd already been living by myself and whatever. So, but I still stayed on top of my studies and everything. So it's just, do you know, like I said, it had to have been God's plan, because now I wouldn't have it any other way. I always said I'd have my first child at 26. I had my first child just before I turned 20, just before. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, when I found out I was pregnant with my son, I was like, okay, cool, I've been with his dad for 5 years anyway, whatever. But it was just a shock to the system, because it wasn't my...
Because you were still growing up. You were still...
But I was very mature. I was a mother to everyone.
She moved out at the age of 17.
Yeah, I've been taking care of myself. I was very
Yeah.
much looking
She's
after
been
people.
independent
I was
a long
very
time.
good with kids. I had lots of people, like younger generation people that I took care of. So I was like a mum before I was a mum, if that makes sense. I was raising her. Raising her.
So you had a nurturing...
Yeah, naturally. And I think what it did for me, because of past experience, like losing my older sister and stuff, I was quite numb to a lot of things.
Okay.
I didn't allow myself to cry and all that stuff. I think falling pregnant and having a child allowed me to heal certain things that I wasn't processing. Does that make sense? I was able to now be in touch with my feminism. I was now able to actually cry. It was the first time I watched Titanic
I
and
think
cried.
it was more of you feeling that if you felt the pain, you made it real. So by saying that...
I just blocked things out.
yeah, you just blocked it.
I just
so
focused
blocking
on it.
is like denial. It's like, if it's not real, it's not, you
Yeah,
know, if I
100%.
if I accept it, then makes it real.
And I would have to feel it too much. But becoming a mother, all those hormones and everything, it allowed me to feel things that you
What
should
happened
be
to
able
your
to
sister?
feel. She passed away from cancer.
Oh,
Yeah.
how old was she?
4.5.
Right.
Yeah, our parents first.
She was
born.
like my twin,
Oh, wow.
literally. So that was
You were only 13 months apart, right?
literally. She's January the 6th, I'm February the 6th. So
Wow.
it's
Oh, you're February born too, innit? You people are in so much
Aquarius.
trouble, innit?
no, they love us. We're the best people.
I hate to admit it, but I do love them.
Yeah, we're the best people. And I think that's why I matured faster than a lot of people as well.
You experienced a lot of life.
Yeah.
at a
So
young
remember,
age.
like that's when you're young. Your childhood is carefree. For me, it wasn't. I was seeing hospital. I was seeing the cancer take my sister's eye hair. Do you know? So I think that did make me grow up faster than a lot of people. Probably I was so nurturing very early and very protective and caring of everyone. And obviously, I can
And
see how it's
appreciative
helped me
of
as the sort of mother I am, big sister
And she
I
wants
am.
to help every single person she meets. She wants to provide for every person. Sometimes I have to tell her
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
boundaries
she
to
does,
that.
yeah.
But I think that's where it comes from.
It
You
does.
want to help anyone you can.
Yeah,
you
because
feel
I know
you
life
can.
is short,
Yeah.
and that's enough. We hear people say that phrase a lot. Life is short, or tomorrow's not promised. And people still move like
take things for granted. You can't, yeah.
That's another thing. So the whole parenting and the time you have with your kids when they're at that stage where they're being shaped, it doesn't come back around.
Which is
again.
true. That is one thing. That is one thing that is true.
Like they're being shaped in that time. They're finding themselves. They're losing themselves. There's all those different. So I'm like, in that time, I can't get it back. So I'm gonna do it the best way I can, because I do know my kids will go up and say, "Mum, this didn't think because of you," or "I'm like this because of you." That's like my worst nightmare. I think that's my biggest fear. And I always say to people as a parent, whose opinion matters most, people or your children's?
It's your children. Okay, we've only got 2 minutes more to go. So I want you to have... Okay, you've said a lot more, so I'll let you have the last word. I want you to have the last word, and then I'll come to you, and then... So, I know with what you've done and how life is in, as we're talking about parents, being able... do you subscribe to parents interfering, or do you... just wrap it up, give us a little synopsis of what you think.
I think parents need to definitely understand that we're not here to tell our children who they're going to be. We're here to help guide them on that journey of them discovering who they are. So definitely want to, of course, provide guidance, because the whole point is for us to share our wisdom with the next generation. But for sure, our children ultimately are going to make the decision. And the whole point is that we're meant to greet them with acceptance and just positivity in general.
And I agree totally with what my sister's saying. And well, her being an auntie from so early, she's actually knows what it's like to be a parent, and she actually advocates all of the things that she's saying she does with my kids. So I know when your time comes,
it's been good practice.
Yeah, she's had very good practice. But yeah, I do think with parents, it's the balance. The balance is important. Listening, hearing, supporting, protecting, mental health, emotional health, understanding the importance of education and creativity. Do you know? So it's just
Ladies, thank you so much for coming on the show, and
Thank
I really
you
do
for having
appreciate you
us.
coming, and I hope you had fun today.
I loved
it was great.
it.
Thank you.
I want to thank my producer, Joe, and then Sister Dansua for giving us the platform for the youth. Because I keep saying that Omega TV UK is the #1 station. I know when you came here, you're looking at everything, and you lot realize that this place very nice setup. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and please share the show. And I keep saying that you people, if I had whip up my bum now, you lot will be sharing it. I just want parents to take this as an opportunity to have an insight to your children and free advice.
Of course.
That you're not getting, you're not even getting any, you're not losing any money over. But thank you so much for watching this show. And next week, in 2 weeks, I'll read up the comments. But thank you so much for giving us this time, and have a lovely evening. Good night.